Welcome to LollieTasking with ADHD. I am your host, Dr. Lollie, a multi-passionate mom of three, a physician, and an ADHD life coach because, like most of you amazing women listening, I have ADHD. Join me as we chat about how ADHD affects our lives and learn strategies to help us all thrive, not just survive, with ADHD so we can live the life we want while accomplishing all our goals. Let's get started. Welcome to LollieTasking with ADHD. Again, I am Dr. Lollie, a physician and ADHD trained life coach who helps easily distracted women maximize their 24 hours so they can accomplish their goals with ease. So, welcome again. Before we get started, I want to give a shout out to Stacy A. Star. Hey girl, who left an amazing review. She says, yes, thank you so much for this. As a double major in studio art journalism, who then switched tracks and went to grad school for occupational therapy, your episode, your own story was so empowering to hear. Despite having child psychiatric RN parents, I was undiagnosed until late in the game as well. When I started flunking exams in grad school that I was studying for 24/7. Please keep the episode coming. Oh my gosh, thank you so very much for this review because as you guys know, the more you leave review, the more important it is for me. It motivates me to keep things going. And yes, I promise to keep the episode coming. Um, Speaking about keeping the episode coming, last week we were not here. It was spring break time. I had so much fun with the kids. I just took some time off. I hope you were able to enjoy past episodes while we were gone. It was just so much fun. Like we had not seen family members since pre-pandemic, so we took a road trip back home. And just an aside, if you guys have kids, there is something about taking a road trip with your kids when they're no longer in diapers and they can basically fend for themselves. Like, oh my gosh. So the last time we took road trip was pre-pandemic. My youngest was still in diapers. But now he's almost 5 and it's so much fun. Or so much better, I should say. That's so much fun. But I digress. So, but now I'm recharged and it's time to buckle up and get back to work. So, as a new cohort of my group that I have in April starts, I've been talking more about people, or more to people, I should say. And one of the biggest questions people ask me is like, what exactly and how exactly does an ADHD coach help me? And what is an ADHD coach? And I thought it would be a very interesting episode just to like put it out there. I was in a group the other day and I just had like a Q&A to talk about it. And it's one of those things that when you're in it, you just assume everybody knows about it or even understands it, even if they know about it. And I just wanted to like kind of give you guys what an ADHD coach does and how it can help you and why it's important for you to get an ADHD coach, okay? So, I don't know why I'm saying so many times today. Oh, another thing with me is that I have horrible allergies. So, if you hear me sound congested, I literally am. Like, I've taken all kind of allergy medicines and it is what it is. Pollen here is crazy, okay? So, let's get back. So most of you know that I help women by helping them navigate life, right? I help their brain do what they want their brain to do. Because we know with ADHD, life is so um can be so hard. Let's just keep it real. Let's keep it funky. Life can be really hard with ADHD. So I come in and help you make life just a little bit easier. Um So let's start. What is ADHD Life Coach and how can I help you? So before we even get started, is what is ADHD Life Coach? The question is what exactly is a life coach, right? People assume a life coach is not just someone that gives advice, right? A life coach is, just to break it down to the most simplest form of what life coaching is. A life coach is simply someone who takes you from where you are in life and where you want to be. Okay. One of the best analogy I've heard about this, and I didn't make this up, is life. Think of life coaching like riding a bike. Okay, life coach is like, okay, so for example, let's say you want to learn to ride a bike, or when your parents were teaching you to ride a bike, like you didn't really understand balancing act, they held the seat of the bike, or they gave you training wheels. A life coach is that person who stands by you and guides you and does it with you. They're not riding a bike with you, they're with you through the journey, right? So another thing people confuse with life coach is like they think like how is it even different from therapy? Like when I tell people maybe you need a ADHD coach, the next thing I hear is but I'm in therapy. It's actually a little bit different, right? Life coach is not therapy at all. Therapy helps you overcome the past in treating the future. So how does that relate to riding a bike? So a therapist would be like, oh, you are scared on getting on a bike and riding because you fell in the past, or anytime you try to ride a bike in the past you had someone yell at you. So let's unpack that, right, and figure that out. That way you can have the empowerment to be able to get back on the bike, right? That's therapy. An advisor or consultant, they will tell you how to ride a bike by giving you maybe like a manual, right? They'll give you a manual and they'll say for you to ride a bike, the first thing you do is sit on the seat, and then you try to balance, and then you put your leg on the pedal, and then you ride. That's a consultant, right? A coach collaborates with you. Okay, so a coach is like you are on the bike, and sometimes they may hold the bike seat so you don't fall, like I said earlier, and sometimes they may suggest using training wheels. But the goal at the end of the day is to be with you every time. As you fall, they help pick you back up, right? As you wobble and you're about to fall, they help stabilize you. As you ride a little bit and fall, they again come back and give you adjustments. So maybe start this way, maybe not use this shoe, maybe we should try a flat surface, right? So that's what a coach does, because for them at the end of the day their goal is you are able to ride the bike on your own, right? We do not care how long it would take you to fall. It may be a month, it may be a year, but the goal at the end of the day is with each fall you learn something about yourself that will help you better riding a bike. Does that make sense to you guys? Like, I feel like that analogy just like clicked when I heard that. And I was like, I got to do this. Okay. So that's life coach overall. So, what is ADHD life coach? An ADHD life coach is someone who takes you where you are in your ADHD journey, wherever you are. It may be diagnosis, it may be that you've had it for a while and you're struggling with emotional dysregulation or planning or whatever or everything, right? They take you from wherever you are into your ADHD, and they help you navigate your ADHD. That way you can navigate life, right? So they help you come up with strategies collaboratively, right? They're not riding the bike for you. You still have to do the work, but they're guiding you so it is so much easier for you. And they're bringing their life experience into it. They're bringing their awareness of ADHD into it. They're bringing their strategies, the tips, the collaboration, and then you also have that person that understands you without judgment and can help you figure out your ADHD, okay? So, and so that's what an ADHD life coach does. But who is an ADHD life coach, right? An ADHD life coach is a trained professional, underline the word trained, who helps you navigate life with awareness of your ADHD brain type and wiring so you can be successful in what you need to be, whatever it is you need to be. But I said underline the word trained because a regular life coach really does not understand ADHD unless they've gone through training or they themselves have ADHD. Because there are subtle things that a regular life coach would expect you to do. But because of your ADHD, it just does not make sense that they would expect you to do that, right? But it takes an ADHD trained life coach who understands your brain wiring to be able to give you the leeway and to be able to understand that you just saying you're going to do this at this time is not going to work, right? To be able to understand that we tend to overcommit, right? So maybe we should break down that goal a little bit smaller. That way it's easier to achieve. Excuse me, guys. So, next question is, how can an ADHD coach help me? Mind you, these are questions people email to me, and I'm just like replying it, okay? So, how can an ADHD coach help you? I've always said, even though I'm a physician and I believe medication is actually quite important in the treatment of ADHD, the management of ADHD needs to be holistic. You know, medication helps you increase dopamine in your synapse and helps you focus, but it does not teach you the executive function that you need to thrive in this world. You know, I say this all the time. Like, think of us as we are left handed people in a right hand world. Remember, I remember when I was in high school, I think it's still like that, the left-handed people had their own desk because the way our desk was made was so that you can rest your arm on the right side, right? So you can imagine if you're left-handed while you're writing, you don't have somewhere to rest your hand on. So they had like maybe one or two left-handed desks. They had a few left-handed scissors, right? But most things in this world are made for right handed people. So a left handed person has to adjust, right, in the world. And to be honest, most of us right handed people don't even think about y'all left handed people. And that's the fact of life. So when we're creating things, we're not even thinking about the left handed people. If you think about ADHD, it's the same thing. We have a unique brain wiring that has the ability to focus on every and everything, and it's different for us to distinguish the most important things that we need to focus on. So we just do. And most people in the world are just not like that. So you need the skills and the strategy, right? For example, someone who's left-handed needs to learn how to cut a scissors like a right-handed person or as much like a right-handed person if there's no left-hand scissors, right? They need to learn how to write if there's no left-hand table, right? So that skills still needs to be taught. Even if there was a medicine that maybe helps them be able to focus a little bit. So they help you with discover your ADHD at the end of the day. Okay? An ADHD coach helps you with discover your ADHD, which is the first milestone that we actually have in our program. Besides teaching the skills, you need to actually understand what ADHD is. It's not just you being not able to focus on the things you want to focus on. At this point in time, it's hard for you to do a lot of things sometimes because it almost seems like you're walking around with foggy glasses on or driving with rain on your windshield. You know, while you can do it, you're more prone to accidents when you can't see clearly, when you don't know your pitfalls, you don't know the things that's going to help you, you don't know your, what color your kryptonites, right? And you don't know your superpower, you don't know where you thrive, you don't know, where you don't thrive at, so you can avoid this. ADHD is so much more than being hyperactive and multi-focus ability. Yes, I made that word up. Because we have multi-focus, right? We're always focused on everything. That's our problem. ADHD is time blindness, ADHD is emotional dysregulation, ADHD is overcommitment, ADHD is being a social justice warrior, ADHD is interrupting, ADHD is all those things. So an ADHD coach helps you learn how to live with it by helping you with together, mind you, coming up with strategies that help you and your unique situation. Because everybody's ADHD is not the same. Okay? They also help you thrive with your ADHD by keeping you accountable so those skills that you've learned, you could gradually continue learning them, right? And perfecting them or improving them is what I meant to say, not perfecting them. That way it can become a habit. Because once it becomes a habit, then you don't really have to think about it anymore. That way you could actually start living life in spite of your ADHD instead of because of your ADHD. Okay? So that's who we are, and that's the whole purpose of coaching with ADHD. And I tell my clients all the time, my goal is to coach you so well that you don't need me anymore. Right? And what do I mean by you don't need me anymore? It doesn't mean you would never need an ADHD coach, but I want to teach you the skills that you need to thrive for yourself. That way you could coach yourself, right? So that's what all ADHD coaches want, and that's all ADHD coaches would want you to do. They want you to ride your bike by yourself. They don't want to keep holding the back seat of the bike or using training wheels all the time. They want to see you succeed, but it's up to you to actually ride the bike, right? It's fun. It's so much fun. Okay. So some other questions people have asked me, what evidence is there that coaching works? There's actually a lot of research out there that shows that medication combined with coaching is the most effective way to manage ADHD. Because I say this all the time, pills don't teach skills. You need the pills to increase the dopamine, but you need to learn the skill for your brain type. Because the world does not have an environment for your brain type, you need to learn the skills to help your brain type. Okay? How is ADHD different from therapy? We kind of talked about that earlier, but I'll go a little bit. In general, therapists facilitate healing, and ADHD coaches facilitate action. That was the easiest definition I saw, and it totally makes sense. Therapy looks at your past to so that you can heal, because if you don't heal you can't move forward. That way you could actually work towards the present and the future. ADHD wants usually would you can even have ADHD with therapy, right? Because therapy is important. Because for example, if you're depressed, there's nothing your ADHD coach can do that would be successful if you have significant depression, because that alone prevents you from being able to take action. So, an ADHD coach helps you from where you are right now, facilitates the action, actually doing things. That way you can move to the future. Okay. Uh, Next question. Anyone can be a coach and is not regulated. Um, yes and no. Listen, anyone can be an astronaut too, right? But the question is, have they gone through astronaut school? If there's something like that, right? The question is, have you done what you need to do to become a coach? Anybody can call themselves anything. There's actually a gold standard through the International Coach Federation, and they're like the leader global organization, and they're dedicated to setting really high standard. And they also provide certification for trained coach. So I think, and there's something else also called PACS, that's for ADHD specific coaches. I honestly believe that yes, most professional coaches are okay. Like, anybody can quote unquote be a coach. But to be an ADHD coach, I really do think it's important to like go to an accredited program that teaches you the right way of coaching. Because if you don't know what you're doing, you can actually cause more harm on people with ADHD than not, right? So if you're right now here and you're thinking, I want to get a coach, I would recommend thinking about people who have actually trained in those schools. It's totally okay. All right. Um, and not just life coaching, right? Just make sure that they had some ADHD specific training to help augment their life coaching. My ADHD is okay and I'm surviving with it. Do I still need coaching? Yes, because you need to thrive with your ADHD and not just survive. Coaching is not just for people that can't get things done, it's to help you get to your better version of yourself. And I really do think that we should always strive to be better in whatever it is we do. Like it is not okay to stay at status quo, right? If we're not evolving and if we're not improving, then what is living, right? So that's that. This question was so much fun. Was funny. She said, "Dr. Lila, I'm a man." Or someone else said, "I'm a child who has ADHD. I would love to join your program, but it seems that you've segregated a man for your program. How can I find an ADHD coach?" So for men and for children, if you want to get your children coaches, I recommend you go to ADHD Coaching Organization online. There's also an attitude directory you can go to try to find ADHD certified coaching. You could also DM me. I have some friends I could refer you to. But if you're a woman, I recommend you join Accomplish with Ease, which is our program, our membership coaching program for women with ADHD. Are you trained, Dr. Lula? Yes. My professional training is through a coaching program called ADCA, ADD Coach Academy. ADCA is one of the leading training programs in the country. A lot of people who train me in the program are actually lifetime professional coaches, and some of them were in the inception of ADHD. I mean, of ADHD, inception of coaching as a profession. So it's an amazing program. Like even with all the medical knowledge I had, I thought it was an amazing supplemental thing I needed to do to help me understand what ADHD coaching truly is. So what I do is I bring my knowledge, my best practices, my experience, my personal, my professional experience, and I bring all that in enabling you to live the life that you really want in life. I look forward to working with you. Okay. So, yeah, just shout out at me. And then this next one goes, I listen to your podcast, but I need more. How else can you help me? Okay, so like I said earlier, I have a group program that is starting actually next week. If you're listening to this in the future, still click the link. We may either have a waiting list or it may be open when you're listening. Click the link in the descriptions below where in our program, I walk you through discovering your ADHD and living with your ADHD and finally thriving with your ADHD. In the program, we also have like weekly coaching sessions, weekly strategy sessions. I do a quick review of like, I teach you like what ADHD is all about. So I do like weekly reviews about that. And then you have like one thing you have to do for yourself, you know. We have accountability coaches. We pair you with what I call LT squads. Yeah, like it's amazing. So our program combines what I call the ADHD success formula. What it does is we combine the awareness of ADHD, which is the content I teach you, all the little nuances of ADHD. That way you can see clearly. Um, And it combines coaching and accountability and community, right? Because you need like-minded people you can vent with and talk with, and they just understand you. So if you think you are ready to move from where you are to where you want to be, you're tired of always complaining about your ADHD, and you want to live life in spite of your ADHD, go ahead and click the link below and join us. Coaching is expensive. How can I get it cheaper? Okay, I hear this all the time. Yes, most good coaches can be expensive, but try discussing a payment plan. Don't just give up on yourself. Maybe start with group coaching, like in our program. You can always upgrade to one on one coaching, and people do that also in my program. They start with group coaching, and they're like, actually, I think now I have the financial ability to do one on one, and that works better for me. Then you could do that. But then I also have people who thought they wanted one on one, but only group was available. And then by the time they got into group coaching, they actually realized that was better for them, you know? And the thing with group coaching is, even if I'm not coaching you and I'm coaching somebody else, a lot of times we have similar issues. So you're still learning from it, right? So it's very important. And then another thing I want you to think about is like be resourceful, right? If you had issues at work, could you use some kind of work educational allowance to pay for this? If you're in medicine, could you consider using a CME money, right? A continuing medical education money. Um, I mean, there are ways you could come about it. I always tell people all the time, I worry about money, but the most important currency or the most expensive currency for people with ADHD is focus and time, you know? So you have to find a way to be able to invest in yourself so you can have better focus and you can be able to maximize your time effectively. You know, it doesn't hurt to ask people for a payment plan. Like I already did this in my program. I just went ahead and do a monthly payment plan for people because not everybody can afford to just drop that, big amount at once. But at least if you're doing a payment plan, you could get in the program, you could start, and we could help you. You know, that way you're not sitting on, I don't have money, I don't have money. Whereas if you had started, you would have saved a lot of money by being focused, being able to avoid the quote unquote ADHD tax, right? You know, I see coaching as an investment in yourself. Give yourself a time frame for the return of your investment. I always recommend not less than 3 months, but maybe give yourself 6 months, give yourself a year, and see if the investment you're doing is actually working for you. Okay? So I invite you today, if you are a woman ready to thrive with your ADHD, this is the time to join our program because every quarter I start again. I start afresh. And next restart would not be till July. So join us and Accomplish with Ease. There'll be a link in the bio. We'll love, 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 love to have you with us. Okay? So I'm going to end with our quote of the day, guys. So ADHD quotes. Strength does not come from winning. Your struggles develop your strength. When you go through hardships and decide not to surrender, that is strength. And this quote was written by Gandhi himself, okay? So, what does that mean? That means do not give up on you and your ADHD. There's help out there, okay? If you need to take medication, please do. However, it is very important you combine it with coaching that can get you from point A to point B. So, and that's it for all the questions. Thank you guys for all the questions you've been asking me. I hope I was able to explain what coaching is and how they can help you. Okay? So, just like every episode, after listening to this episode, I want you to think if you could do one thing, what is your aha moment of the episode? And what is one thing you're going to work on this week? If you get that stuff done this week, you have succeeded. Okay. So think about it. What is one thing you want to do after listening to this episode and go do it? Okay. So, ladies, thanks for hanging out with me again on another amazing episode of LollieTasking. I hope you have an intentional week. Don't be a stranger. If you have any questions or want to talk about this more extensively, you can join our Facebook to continue the conversation. It's called Thrive in Spite of ADHD, and the link will be in the show notes. Okay, so don't forget to also follow us on IG at LollieTasker, and our email is hello@lollytasking.com. Till next time, remember, you can do it too with some planning, a little bit of balance, and a dash of determination. This is LollieTasking with ADHD. Thanks for hanging out with us on another episode of LollieTasking with ADHD. If you like what you've heard today, I would love for you to click the subscribe button, rate, and leave a great review, in addition to sharing with your friends. Your review allows visibility and also allows other amazing women to find this podcast. Also, if you have any questions or topics you would like for us to discuss, please contact me via direct message on Instagram at LollieTasker or email us at hello@lollytasking.com. Till next time, this is LollieTasking with ADHD.